All right. So this time, let's talk about images. So I am actually going to start off right at the end of the previous video, right? So if you remember, we created this system of movement that very much resembled the DVD screensaver logo, which is basically a bouncing circle inside our canvas. So um, this is going to serve as a platform for the introduction of the idea of images, right? So you can use images in P5.js, um, and there are multiple formats that are available to you. JPEGs, PNGs, they make kind of a big deal when they introduce GIFs and animated GIFs, and you can do a lot of interesting things with animated GIFs. But today we're gonna start with just working um, uh, with PNGs, right? So in order to start with the images, you need to first of all load them into your sketch, right? So I have two images prepared. I have a happy face and I have an ouch face, right? So the idea is that instead of having just a plain circle, I'm going to have a happy face bouncing around my screen. And then every time it hits the edge, it's going to change into an ouch face. Okay, so the way you add add images to your sketch is right here in the file management. So if you remember, we kind of briefly looked in here in the side menu when we were talking about how to set up your P5.js environment. So if you're logged in, you are going to have this plus uh, uh, option, right? Plus button, and you can upload a file. So I can take these two images and I can drag them over from my desktop to my files, right? And now I'm going to have happy PNG and out PNG available to my sketch. You can load your images from many places. You can load them from remote URLs. You can upload your files into your sketch. Um, I am doing it this way for simplicity's sake, but also because I couldn't find any good images on the remote URLs. But you can find out more if you go into reference and if you start looking at image, right? And start looking at how to load an image. So you can read through this um, description, but I want to draw your attention to one detail right now, and that's the preload function. So the preload function is specifically created in order to load any kind of additional assets before you go into the setup, right? So this is where we typically would load things like images, or if you're using videos, or if you're using fonts, or if you're using large data files, you would be using your preload. So let's add the preload function right here, right? And we're not going to be using our colors, gray and yellow. They can go away, and we can remove those declarations from the setup, and our background will be something like 220, right? Something um, generally neutral, and I'm gonna even remove the fill, right? Um, but okay, so we remove the color. Let's add the preload function, preload, and then in the preload, we need to load our images. In order to load our images, let's create the variables that would hold them. So let's create image happy, image ouch, right? So those are going to be the two variables. In the very beginning, they're empty, but in the preload, I'm going to say image happy is, so let's load the image, and I'm going to be counting my path from my JS file, right? So if it's on the same level, all I have to do is just specify the name, happy.png, and then image ouch is going to be load image ouch dot png. Okay. So far, no errors. The console is clean. Hopefully we loaded the images. Let's find out. We only loaded them. We're not displaying them yet, right? So let's close this. One important thing about this is that you have to explicitly draw the image. It doesn't know where to draw it. And so in order to do this, we are going to be using, let's go back, we are going to be using image function. That's the one that draws the image that you want onto the canvas. And there are a lot of parameters in there, and we're going to explore some of those parameters, right? But let's try it out. So first of all, I want to draw this inside the inside my circle, and so my images are actually quite big, or relatively big, but I don't want it to be too big. So let's make the diameter of my circle a little bit larger. So like 150, something like that. That's fine. And then I am going to say that first I'm going to draw the circle. That's going to be my head. And then after, I am going to be drawing my image. So the first parameter that it's going to take is, so looking into the example, is going to be the image itself. And then its position, whether it's going to be its position X and position Y. And you can sort of like, if you scroll down, this is the bare minimum. Image, X, and Y positions, right? So if I wanted to do something like, let's just draw happy image. So let's do img happy. And then the position is going to be position of my circle, reasonably, right? So our position X and position Y. So close enough. We do have a happy face following the circle, but it's not exactly what I wanted for one very simple reason. The position of an image, just like a position of the rectangle, is calculated from its top left corner, right? It doesn't have to though. And there's a way to make things relatively easy for ourselves. We have something called image modes. So if you go back to your loading and displaying images, right underneath, you're going to find image mode option. And you have 3 options. Corner, which is top left corner, upper left corner as described. Corners, which will allow you to define it from the top left and bottom right corner. Or center, right? Which will make it very similar to the circle. So all I have to do is flip my image mode to center, right? So notice we start looking into those modes. We have blend modes, we have color modes, we have image modes. So those are kind of like general options that would apply to all of the subsequent implementation of a particular function, right? So image mode, center, that means that our image is now at the center of the image coincides with the center of the circle. It's still a little bit too big. So if you look inside our image function, right, you will notice that you have the ability to supply the width and height, and that's great. So let's add the width and height the same as the diameter of our circle. So diameter, right? I hope I didn't misspell it. Okay, close enough, right? So our circle and our face are now the same. So next order of business, I want to draw a different image whenever I hit the edge of the screen, right? So that means that what is being drawn over here needs to change. So from the image happy, I need to change to image ouch. So what I'm going to do to facilitate this, I am going to introduce an intermediary variable. I'm going to call it current image, right? So current image, something like this. And then in the very beginning, I'm going to say, and actually, like, it looks a little bit weird without the stroke. Let's remove the no stroke thing. And let's, I'm gonna say current image is equal to img happy, right? So, and I'm gonna be drawing the current image. So this is going to be hopefully the same, right? The same as before. That's fine. But if I'm changing its velocity, right? That remember, that means that it hit the edge. I'm going to switch the image to be image ouch. So let's do current img is equal to image ouch, right? And then the same thing will go for the other one. Okay, so boom, we changed the current image. Now it's ouch, but I wanted to change and then go back, right? So it got hit like, but it's fine, fine. It goes back to happy, right? So one way I could do this, I could say something like, all right, well, maybe we will draw the image, we will reset the image to be image image happy, right? So like something like this. So current image is equal to now image happy, right? So let's see. Well, it doesn't do it, and in fact we would have to, like, in fact, draw this image like after here, and then this reset would have to go back to the beginning. So basically the idea is that, like, and it's honestly like we're doing this for very little reward, so it's gonna do up for like literally split second. It's gonna change it. The reason why it started doing this is because I'm kind of entering my draw function. I'm setting my current image to be image happy, but then if I hit a wall right here, I'm resetting it to ouch and then draw the whatever is the current one. So for one split second, for one frame, it might be set to ouch right on the moment where I hit the edge. But that's not what I want, right? I don't want any of this because it's too short. I want it to stay in that ouch mode for maybe like 10 or 15 or 20 frames. So I'm gonna undo all this, and I still need to flip my image, but after I change the image, I kind of need to start counting down the frames before I reset it back to image happy. So this current image being equal to image happy is not going to get implemented right away. I'm going to have this idea of a countdown. I'm going to start, let's say, 16 frames, right? So somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to have another variable at the very top, and I'm going to call it count down. And in the beginning, it's going to be 0, right? But the moment I switch the image, countdown becomes 16. And then from that point on, I'm going to start counting how many frames since we changed the image from happy to ouch, right? And I'm going to basically be decreasing that number every frame. So 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and so on and so forth. So count down is, again, itself minus 1. So if you remember that itself plus 1 is, it would be countdown plus plus. But if itself minus 1 would be countdown minus minus, logically. And also, I only need to do it until countdown reaches 0, right? I don't need to be counting down until eternity. So I basically just need to say if my countdown is greater than 0, then sure, then count it down, right? Like decrease it by 1. Otherwise, I don't really care. Except, so basically, I am trying to count to the point where it reaches 0. And then if it reaches 0, I'm going to do something. So this is where the idea of if else statement comes into play, right? So if my countdown is above 0, I'm going to keep counting. If it's 14, I'm going to switch it to 13. I'm going to switch it to 9 if it's 10, and I'm going to and if it's 4, I'm going to switch it to 3. But the moment it reaches 0, I need to switch the current image back to happy. I need to do something else. And so this is where the idea of else comes in. So if it's above 0, keep counting. Otherwise, my current image is going to be set to happy. Yeah? Something like this. So now, well, let's run it a little faster. Ow. Ow. Okay, I'm doing my own sound effects. But you can see that it stays on that face for a little while and then changes back to image happy. So this is the primary idea behind if-else statements, that if one condition executes, you're going to do one thing. And if another condition executes, we're going to do something else, right? So if it's still above, if our countdown is still above 0, we're going to keep counting. And the moment it reaches 0, we're going to stop counting and instead start setting our image to image happy. And just to point out, we are kind of executing this statement on every frame, right? So if the countdown is equal to 0, we just keep setting our current image to be image happy, image happy, image happy. There might be a more economical way of doing this, right? Just kind of like setting it once and then not bothering with it on subsequent frames. And feel free to come up with a way to do this. But I'm going to leave it at this. At this scale, we're not really worried about computational economy, right? Let the engineers worry about that. We're just going to be designing some fun and interesting experiences. Okay, so see what other images you can load, what else you can do with this image loading idea. Yeah, see you next time. Have fun with it.